Hello, my name is Billy McDaniel. My focus in this video is to create an outdoor environment scene like you see me walking through right now. Now I'm going to be using tiles and props available in the core environment Great Outdoors. That's an asset that I created under the name Almighty Assets. You can purchase this package in online marketplaces such as the Unity Asset Store, for example. For more information and links, look in the description below. Now, let's go ahead and start learning how to make a scene like this. Okay, let's go ahead and create a smaller level. These levels are pretty big. So this is the demo levels inside the asset itself. This is demo 1. Demo 2 looks like this. Like I said, these are pretty big levels. Demo 3. We're going to make something probably less than a quarter of the size, maybe an eighth the size of this right here. We can use any one of these demos as a base. Matter of fact, you can just create one from scratch. All we really need is a container to put our environment in, which is basically a transform centered out at 0, 0s, and 1s. And then we need our first person controller, which, by the way, you can find that by just right-clicking and selecting the prefab asset. That is inside Almighty Assets, Core Environment Series, Great Outdoors, and then we have FP controller. That's the prefab right there. And then a couple of directional lights. I've got them going in different directions so that it fills in the light a little bit better. If I only had one directional light, there would be a dark shadow on the side of everything, and I didn't really like the look of that, so I just have these in two different directions, that's all. So what I want to do is I want to basically create a new demo. Okay, so let's go over to our scenes over here. Again, this is inside the Almighty Assets Core Environment Series, Great Outdoors, Scenes, and this is demo 3. I'm just going to go to File, Save As, and then let's go into our Almighty Assets, Core Environments, Great Outdoors, and then into that Scenes folder. I'll just call this Demo 4. Now with that done, I can just go in here and remove all the stuff that makes this environment, leaving it, like I said, just the folder, the two directional lights, and our first person controller. Let's go ahead and save that. Remember, this is Demo 4. Alright, there's a lot of stuff here, and I want to break this down, so let's take a quick look at what we've got to work with here. The nested prefabs, we're going to be using this last. In another video, I'll show you how to make these. If you can't figure it out on your own, you'll probably appreciate that. But this is going to be one of the final things that we actually do. We're going to start off inside the prefabs folder over here. You can see we have decorative and we have terraforming, okay? The decorative stuff is basically the components of those nested prefabs. So if you take a look at one of these real quick, I'm just going to drag that into the scene and take a look. These nested prefabs are sort of like pre-decorated areas of the environment. You can make as many as you want of these. It just makes it easier to fill in the space a little bit later on. And these are made up of all of those decorative prefabs. So we get different types of rocks and trees, plants, mushrooms, flowers, grass, and all that kind of stuff. That's what this is right here. So we're not really going to use that until we start using those nested prefabs. In terraforming over here, I've broken things down into a couple of categories. We can terraform creeks and paths. That's basically the rivers and the roads. Elevations, which is things like cliffs, hills, mountains, and plateaus. And then foundations, which is basically fields of dirt or grass. And then grass slopes. So when we change the elevation, we're going to do that by surrounding the area with slopes. Okay, so let's start off with creeks and paths. I'm just going to collapse these for now. And I want to create a path, in other words, a road, a dirt road that we can walk on. So the very first thing that we're going to do is create an empty game object over here. And let's go ahead and call this paths. And we're going to drag some of these in here, the ones that we think that we're going to use. Let's start off with the most obvious one, a straight path. So I'm just going to drag that right in there. And then right off the bat, you can see that our character controller, which is in the middle of the world space, is also in the same place as the path in the middle of the world. And if I hit play, I should be able to walk on this thing. Now this is pretty much the smallest level that you can make, if you want to consider that a level. But that's the smallest level you could make with this asset pack. Okay, so what we want to do is just create some kind of loop. I just want my road to go around in a loop like this. A couple of things to think about. At some point I want to put creeks in here. So that means that we're going to have a junction that goes between the roads and the creeks. So what I'm going to do is create that junction first. let's just drag this into paths. I'm going to focus in on that and snap this over here. Now my grid snapping is set on 5 units. So go over to snapping. If you want to use this the same way that I'm using it, just go ahead and set your units for snapping to 5. Now I'm using an old version of Unity, and the reason why is because I'm going to be importing this into the Unity Asset Store, and I want anybody using 2018.4 and beyond. So anything newer than that is going to work just fine with this. So anyway, I've got this all set to 5. And what I need to do is rotate this on the y-axis 90 degrees to make it line up with the road like that. So now if I hit play again, we now have 2 tiles. One of them is facing the opposite direction, but hey, here you go. Matter of fact, now that I know that, why don't we take this and snap it over here instead. There we go. Okay, this is a good start, but we've got a lot of work to do. So I'm just going to do a bunch more work as quick as I can here. So let's go back to our paths, and I want to get a straight long. So let's drag that in over here, snap that into place. And at some point we need to go around a curve, so it's probably a good time to do that right now. Let's go to bend wide for this. I've got some funny names for these. Hope you guys can appreciate that. So bend wide. Let's use the curvy path. We're gonna have to turn this one 90 degrees on the y-axis. And let's snap this over here. And we need another curve. So let's do this. Maybe I'll snap this over here like that. Need to have another bend. So let's use the bend long this time. I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees on the y-axis, holding on control and snap that into place. Okay, let's do a fork split. We're going to want to line this up, so let's rotate this 180 degrees. Snap that like that. I want this to come and connect with that, but this is going to do something too. Okay, how about let's grab one of these S curves and bring that in. Hold it on control. Snap that over there. I want to do a straight piece. We'll use straight 2 since we've already used straight 1. Another bridge at some point over here. So that's going to be inside here. We'll use the stone bridge. Let's use the wood one this time. So rotate that on the Y by 90. We should be all set there. We're going to need to connect these creeks, but let's get this road settled first. So back to paths. Let's do a bend soft 2. I'm going to rotate this 180 degrees. And we just need to fill this in. There. Now, like I said, this is going to go off. Maybe this goes to the next town or something like that. So let's just make a straight long. It kind of disappears off into the distance, and that's going to be just fine. Matter of fact, what we can do is have this go up a hill. I'm going to move this over a little bit to make some room here. And what we want to do is use this slope. I'm going to bring that in. It is going in the wrong direction right now, so we're going to flip that around 180 degrees like this. And then these need to be brought up 10 units like that. So this is now going up a little hill like that. Okay, so this is going to be good enough. We need to get these rivers filled in. So we'll go over to creeks. They're creeks, not rivers. And let's start filling this in. We're going to need a bend or 2. So we got bend hard, we got bend long. Let's make a game object to contain these. So create an empty. We'll call this creeks. And let's see what bend long does for us. So we're going to rotate this. It's pretty good. We need to make a bend over here. We'll use bend hard. All right, let's do a little fork over here. That's pretty good. Something different over here. All right, that's probably going to be good enough. Now we just need to fill in these gaps here. So we can find the tiles for that in Foundations. Go to Grass, and these square ones are going to be called square, and the rectangle ones are going to be called rect. So let's go over here and create a place for our fields. There we go. And I'm just going to drag all of these into that. We're going to use all of them eventually, so we'll start with the rectangular ones. Holding control to snap all of these. Now that we've filled in a lot of the little holes, let's start working on some of the bigger ones. So I'm going to select one of these squares, duplicate it, bring it over here, and we're going to increase the X and the Z but not the Y. So let's make this 4, 1, 4. Snap that into place. I'm just going to duplicate that and kind of create a nice grassy area around the circumference of this whole area here. Okay, now we need to do something about this slope over here. So let's go over to Grass Slopes. We're going to go to Straight. These are technically still fields, but I feel more comfortable putting them in the slopes. So let's go ahead and create an empty for that called Slopes. I'll drag this straight piece in there. It's going in the wrong direction, so we'll flip it around like that. Duplicate that. Now we need the outer bend, so look for bend outer. There's 3 different ones here. We have bend outer, we have bend outer long, and bend outer wide. So we're going to go with bend outer on this. You can see why this is wrong. So what we need to do is rotate this. So I'm not sure exactly how much to rotate it or which direction. So what I'm going to do is just kind of get it close like this. And it looks like it wants to be -90. There we go. I'm going to have to do something like that over here. So I'm just going to duplicate that. And again, not really sure which way to go. So looks like it wants to be 180 this time. We've got a straight piece that's wide. Let's go ahead and use that. So I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. Remember, we're following this slope over here. And we're going to do another one on the other side. So let's go ahead and duplicate that again. It's going to be in the opposite direction, so -90 should do it. And it looks like we have a little bit of a problem with that one, so let's save this for over here. Duplicate that and put this over here like that. Now we need to have this corner piece. So this is a bend inner. And the question is, how do we want this rotated? So probably like that. Then we need a bend outer, which is basically this piece right here. Looking good. We can duplicate that. And then on this side, just going to duplicate that. And then maybe one more of these over here. Let's duplicate this piece right here. That's a square piece. Actually, I think we want a rectangular piece instead. So let's take that one instead. We'll duplicate that. Let's bring it over here. Remember, we need to raise this up because right now it's 10 units down below everything else. So we're going to raise that up. Let's rotate this. Snap it into position. Duplicate it. Duplicate it again. Now we need that square one. So we'll duplicate this. Snap it up. There we go. Now I want to keep this fairly simple. Like I said, this doesn't need to be a very long video. I just kind of want to show you how this is done, and then we're going to move on. So we find one of these square pieces. That one will do. Fill in that little gap right there. I want one of these rectangular pieces now. We'll fill in this gap. 2, 1, 2. It's probably a little bit too big there. Maybe we can use this over here instead. Then we can take one of these big squares. Alright, that's going to be fine. This probably should have another river piece that goes a little bit deeper in. So let's go back to our creeks. Now in a situation like this, or it seems like this would be perfect if it just lined up better, you actually can line this up better, right? This is the z-axis right here. So if I change this to -1 on the z, that'll make that line up perfectly like that. All right, this is going to be enough. Let's start putting some mountains in here. So we can find those mountains under elevations. I'm going to use some of these grass top mountains. So let's go ahead and create an empty to put these in. Nice container. What happened here? Oh, that's our creek. We need to put that inside there. All right, so right click, create empty. This is going to be mountains. So just going to drag these in here and start surrounding this area here. So I'm switching between move and rotate using W and E. The thing I want to do is take some hills into here. We're going to use these hills as mountains. So I'm going to drag them into the mountains container over here. And then let's just increase the scale of these. 5, 5, 5 is about mountain size. Actually, let's go a little smaller than that. How about 4, 4, 4? So this is 4 times the size of a regular hill. And let's just go and find homes for these little things. I'll put one over here. Of course, you can rotate this stuff to make things look a little bit more natural. I'm kind of doing this quickly, but you could take your time and do a much nicer job than I'm doing. So here's an idea. So another thing I can do to make this look a little bit better is I'm going to scale this up. That last mountain that I just put in, it's more like in the far distant background. And let's do another one over here. And that's probably fine. Let's see what it looks like in first person perspective. Okay, very flat with a pretty cool mountain vista, I guess. So let's take care of that flatness next. So now we're actually ready to start putting down some of those nested prefabs. So let's go over there to this nested prefab section. And these are the ones that I've made. You're welcome to make more yourself. The more you have, the better your scenes are going to look. So let's go ahead and create a place for that. I want one of each of these at least. and then we'll just duplicate once we have them in there. So I'm just going to drag all of those into here, and we'll just start moving them around. I'm not really sure what to do, so I'll just figure it out as I go. So now that we have all of those, I'm just going to highlight them, Control D to duplicate those, and we'll just continue just duplicating and moving these around like this. Another thing I probably should do is rotate all of these so they're not exactly the same rotations as I just copied from. It's always a good rule of thumb too. Alright, at this point I just want to fill in some of these bigger gaps with a big bunch of pine trees. So I'm going to reuse this and just rotate it each time I do, just to fill in this big huge gap over here. We haven't done anything up there yet. We're going to do that next. But first I want to see what this looks like when I walk through it. So let's go ahead and save this and then hit play. Yeah, it's starting to look much better. So we definitely need to fill that in next. You can see it's a big open space. What I'm thinking is lots of pine trees. So let's get one of these pine trees up there. Let's grab that one because it's the closest. Actually, pine trees might not be a good choice because there's not a lot of space up there. I was thinking these big pine hill over here, but we can grab something else. Here, let's just look at these down here. We got hill 1, hill 2, hill 3, and hill 4. Let's just do all 4 of those. So those came into the middle of the world space. Let's bring those over here. Remember, we need to snap them up, so we can just change the Y on the position to 10. And let's go ahead and move these around. Let's make sure that this actually sets into the ground. I think it's all set. Wouldn't mind having something over here. So let's take this, Control D to duplicate. And I think what I'll do to make it fit in there a little bit better is just scale it down. I haven't scaled any of these down, so once in a while it's okay to scale 1 or 2 of these down. Just make it fit in there a little bit better. It's going to break up that hill a little bit from a distance. Alright, so now let's go and one more time we'll walk through this and then we'll wrap this up by just adding a few more decorative pieces. In other words, we're going to do some fine tuning. So just one more quick run through just to see what this looks like. Now let's go and add a couple of points of interest and some fine tuning. So I'm going to make a new container, which I'm just going to call rocks. Obviously we're going to put rocks in this, so let's go ahead and do that first. So let's go over to Prefabs, Decorative, Rocks. I'd like to get a couple of these rocks in there, like this one right here would be really nice. So let's drag that in there first of all. Rocks 1, 2, 3, and 4. Maybe our arch rock. And we have a couple of rock piles that we can add as well. So let's start with one of these. Doesn't matter to me which one. Natural rock column, I guess. Let's look at our small map here and see what we can do with this. I see a spot over here that would look pretty good, so maybe we'll just put a nice rock column right there. Let's go to the next piece. We have these 4 rocks here. I don't want to put them all in one spot, so we're going to spread them around a little bit. Matter of fact, what I want to do with these rocks is make them a little bit bigger. So let's make them 3 by 3 by 3. And let's put one here anyway. Let's move these others out of the way. So we're going to put one rock over here. Maybe something like that. Okay, let's go to rock 2, where we're going to put rock 2. Let's put rock 2 over here. There we go. Rock 3. How about right there? Works for me. Rock 4. How about right there? I want to make rock 4 quite a bit bigger than that. So let's make it 5. Make it really tall. 8 by 5. So there we go. This arch rock, usually I put this around a road. So I'm looking at the available roads that we can put it around. This is kind of a small map, so it might not make sense to have it in this particular map. But just to kind of demonstrate, that's what the arch looks like right here. Usually I would put it around a road like that, but like I said, not a very big map. Or just put it somewhere else. Maybe we'll throw it up on this hill over here in the distance. Something a little different. So we'll take a look at that in just a moment. And then we have these rock piles here. So this is kind of like a rock wall. And I think what I want to do is just find the right place for this. Alright, so we'll take the straight piece. And the bend might not be useful all the time, but we'll use it once in a while. Now let's walk around and see what we've got here. So save it, hit play, and this could be our final observation here. Now what we need to do is look around for anything that sort of doesn't blend together very well. So you might want to look at the areas where your nested prefabs kind of come together. Look for areas where the flowers or the grass or anything is sort of buried underneath some of the topsoil. And if you see anything like that, you might want to pause the game, figure out where it is, and then stop the game, edit it, go back and take a look. Now I've gotten pretty good at editing this stuff, so looks like most of my hills are put together pretty nicely. There's enough space in between them where we don't have this problem. But if some of these hills were overlapping, like this is right here, you might potentially run into a situation where like your flowers get buried underneath one of the hills or something like that. And you might want to spot something like that and fix it. Those grass blades right there are kind of like that. That tree is buried underneath the ground. The grass buried inside of the wall. That tree inside the wall. So if you wanted to fix some of this stuff, here's how you could go about doing that. First of all, pause. So hit escape, hit the pause button, select your first person controller, use F to find it or focus in on it. Now we know where this is, so we can just stop the game. And now we want to go and fine tune this. The first thing I noticed was the grass. So if I wanted to fix that, I could just grab that grass and pull it over here. There's some more grass over here that's kind of underground. I can either hide it the rest of the way or bring it out here. I think what I'm going to do is just hide it the rest of the way. This tree is a little bit underground. Again, I'm just going to move that over here. This tree is totally inside the mountain, or at least half inside the mountain. Not necessarily a feature that I like, so I'm going to move that. Alright, what else can we do here? There's a tree right there that's inside the mountain. And I think I might just hide that tree. Or just move it over here maybe. Of course there's a lot of stuff hidden inside there, but that's okay. As long as it doesn't look silly on the outside. Okay, so we manage that. And you just want to go through and look at all the different scenarios where stuff can be sort of lodged inside like that. Here's another one right here. Another one right there. Be careful because some of this stuff, this is probably one of them, has some mushrooms growing on the tree, and if I move the tree, the mushrooms will not move with it. So you might want to select the mushrooms as well as the tree. Now when I did that, it looks like I moved it up into the grass area, so that's not good. Alright, that's a little better. Let's go ahead and save it, and one more walkthrough, and then we'll call it. So thanks for watching. This is Core Environment, Great Outdoors. Something that you should be able to find in the Unity Asset Store and possibly other marketplaces. Check out the links in the description down below. So, everything looks pretty cool. You can keep adding to this if you want, but remember, this is just the core environments. I'm going to be making lots of other props, tiles, add-ons and stuff, so you can keep making more and more interesting places. Alright, so now go in, try it for yourself, see how you do. Don't be afraid to leave some comments, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Appreciate your feedback, appreciate your support. This video is fairly long. Usually I like to make shorter videos, but like I said, if you made it this far through, congratulations and thank you. Hope to see you guys in the next video.